Greetings from Revealing the Hidden. And last week we discussed about temptation and how it can be dangerous even though it is advertised as a very good thing for each and every commodities or the daily needs of the life. And today we are going to discuss about the self-control which we explain as one of the management measures that we should have self-discipline or self-control so that we can get over or get rid of the temptation. So today we are going to discuss the self-control strategies as well as the measures of improving the self-awareness. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for having me again. And I think we spoke about temptation and overcoming temptation. And one of the big things about temptation is it's all around us. We have to be aware. And I want to start with a basic example. One day, getting up in the morning, and I'm supposed to get up at 7 o'clock. And I know if I don't get up at 7, it's going to be a hectic run throughout the day. But I sleep for 5 more minutes. The next day, same thing happens. The next day, same thing happens.
You spoke for me.
And then it happens every day. And then suddenly something that was seemingly so innocent started becoming a habit, a pattern. And that pattern started tempting me because now I would actually be tempted to shift my alarm from 7 to 7:10. Then that 7:10 will become 7:15 to 7:20, 7:30. And within a few weeks, I'm getting up at 8 o'clock. Now, that is something that we do not want, okay? And that is exactly where temptation comes in. Because many a times temptation does not come announced. It rather comes as silently as the snake that came to Eve and said that why don't you taste this fruit, it's so beautiful. And Eve did not know she was being tempted, and so did not Adam. And I think that's the case with us as well. Temptation does not come knocking on the door. It slips inside and says, "Hey, I'm here. Let's roll." So I think with temptation, the biggest thing is to it may be very late for many of us to identify, isolate, then remove it. One of the best things that each of us can start doing right from today is to start taking strategies and to build strategies for equipping ourselves, strengthening ourselves. Because as we spoke last time, that temptations can be looked at as a training ground, and we can look at temptations as a training ground. But before you hit the gym, you need to start getting your gear ready. You need to start getting your clothing ready. You can't go in a suit to the gym. Same way, when the temptation is going to come to you, we need to be aware of how we can face temptation. And the first big step is self-awareness. So the first thing is, what are the areas in my life that can lead me to temptation? Because if you don't look at it, temptation will highlight it for you. If not today, then definitely tomorrow. So it's better that we do that retrospective analysis of our own lives, and we look at the areas that are weak and that are strong. So strengthen what is already strong and get to also equip and put in fences around the weak areas. So I have a sweet tooth. So if I go across a sweet shop, I look at the shop, I look at the color, and I'll go like, okay, I want to taste it out. So there are things that I need to kind of put my fences around. That is me. Second is when you understand what your awareness is, what your strengths are, what are your weaknesses, you start to take strategies to overcome them. Because you'll have to live in this world, you'll have to go through the same trials and the same temptations. But before you head into temptation, you can actually know, what am I going to do if I go to a sweet shop and I want to buy all the sweet in the shop? I can't eat all of them. I'll end up wasting money, and I'll increase my sugar. So what you need to do is you need to put in discipline. And I know it's a long strategy, but discipline will build up over time. As we said, look at temptation as a training ground. Discipline is just going to make it much more better. When you are putting in discipline, when you are putting in that time, instead of temptation, you will end up getting a technique to be able to be stronger. And that technique will build up, and that technique will help you overcome temptation. And without you knowing it, temptation will come, but now you will be auto-tuned. So I think temptation, training ground, technique, and tuning. And the last thing is, when we start getting tuned automatically in our mind, even though we are tempted, even though somebody says that, oh, listen, just why don't you cheat today and all of those things, you're so tuned in your mind that temptation has no place to fit in.
Yes.
And because you're so tightly wired, okay, that it has no space to get into your mind, it will just have to stand out. So one of the ways to not let temptation inside is look at it as a training ground, build your technique, and be tuned to not let temptation inside.
Very nicely explained, Bonnie. So, from my side, I would like to say actually, the self control really builds a person. So, if you see what are the good things about self control, if I talk about a student who studies, a person who's really self control, she or he'll get good marks and she'll be very focused on her goals. And if she loses the self control, her goals is already moved out and she's not going to be the outstanding student anymore. So understand self-control helps to protect us from temptation and also help to achieve the goals. Everyone has goals. I mean, right? We have children. Our children, we are bringing them up so that they will become better human beings. We give them the best education so that they will come up with best things. So this is the way parents look at the children. This is the way the children look at their future when they are tuned to look ahead. And if you're not tuning them to look ahead with a good vision, then the temptation plays an important role and people give way for it. And this temptation will be affected. Suppose I have very less money. If I had only 100 rupees, I'm asked to buy maybe a packet of bread. When I go inside, I see chocolates and I'm tempted. I may spend the money for everything and I may not have money to buy my bread. So this is temptation and this is the importance of having self-control on how much money I should spend, how much time and how much expenditure. And mainly self-control, according to me, need to have mainly in three areas: in my impulsivity and my emotions and my desires. Because these three things, if I'm able to control, because as you said that I really doesn't know where I'm going to be tempted or I don't have a self-control. So how I'm going to react to others really play an important role, or what emotion is going to happen when you are going to talk to me. So I need to control myself so that I won't be raw in front of you and I will be insulted in front of other people. And as human beings, I have a lot of desires. I cannot show all the desires publicly because it is not accepted. How much of a open world or open view you have and others have, all your desires cannot be kept in a blatant, exposed or exhibited. So these things I need to be very careful when I speak about self-control. And when we speak about in social terms, self-control helps me to have a good interpersonal relationship with others. That is, even if I know that the person who is speaking to me is not good for anything, or the person is talking very bad and foolish things, I should be self-controlled to keep my mouth shut because I need to know in front of whom I'm sitting. He or she can be my authority, or she or he can be a supreme power where I may not be able to answer. So here, the self-control plays an important role. More than that, the self-control helps me to have a perspective talking. So this will really make me to understand how to talk. And it also helps me to have an empathy to others, not sympathy I should have, so that I'm able to relate much more without keeping me in trouble. Suppose Bonnie is in a trouble, I give my hand to you, it's a natural tendency that you can pull me down. If I like self-control, obviously I'll fall for it. But if I'm a person with morals and principles and I know to protect myself, even if he doesn't want to come up, I will not go into the pit the way what he is. So these are important things I would say that I need to train. As you were telling us, literally thinking about my condition. So that pointing fingers at the others, I would think about myself. I never knew it was a temptation. So many things. Once I jumped into these things, and it was a temptation. I should not have done it. So next time, I think how I can improve myself. So this way, it's like a learning by trial and error method. At least I'm understanding. There is no one telling me that it was a temptation and there is a path I should not go. There are so many things our parents, siblings, teachers tell us not to do. There are n number of things. No one knows what is the path what we are taken, and only I know. And I know what mistakes I'm doing, and only I know how I can correct and get back. The more I do the mistakes, it is no more a temptation, it becomes a behavior, and I choose to go that way. So to avoid those things, the first step, second step, I should understand I'm wrong in that way, or it is costing my life, my future, my character, my personality. It's time to come back. So these are some of the things I would like to explain when I talk about self-control. Anything else to be added, Bonnie?
Yes, I think the point that you made on perspective and choosing the path is very important, because with just two words I'd like to highlight on self-awareness is that we all actually, even I speak for myself when I say this, that self-awareness is something that cannot be attained in one day. It's a perspective that you keep on bettering every single day. And the two words that I'd like to kind of highlight when you look at perspective and when you look at self-awareness is self-awareness needs a perspective on two things. One is priorities, and the second is progress. When you have priorities which would involve your principles, your value system, your goals and all those things, those are your priorities. You need to magnify them. So when you are tempted, or when you are even if you don't think it's a temptation, but in the long run it can become a habit, and habit can lead to, I wouldn't say addiction, but it can lead to you being tempted more than you were before. And since temptation doesn't come in a very clouded form, it comes in a very sweet form. So something that is so simple, something that is so sweet or easy can then become something that you will not be able to say no to. So instead of saying no to temptation, use affirmative positive words. So when you start prioritizing yourselves, so that becomes positive talk, that no, I am following a goal, I am following a plan, I need to get up. It may be hard, it may be strenuous, it may be excruciatingly painful, but I am going to stick to it because my priorities are bigger than anything else.
Yes.
Second is progress, because we all love progress, but we all love to see somebody else progressing. We don't try to prioritize our progress. So I would say that we need to make progress a priority, and that progress needs to also be overcoming temptation. We tend to think that progress is all about having a weight number or having a salary, but it can also be how many times did I say positive no. Okay, no is a negative word, right? But how many times did I say a positive no to something that could have tempted me and taken me down the line? So for me, positive no is something that I'm pursuing, and that is going to create progress, because when I start prioritizing my progress over things that are surrounding me or people who are surrounding me, I start to realize that temptation is becoming not just a training ground. Temptation is something that I can now get over, and I start teaching other people that okay, this could become a temptation, but I am now talking about it. So I think talking about temptation is very good, which we are doing right now. But I think it's more than talking about it. I think there should be testimonies from temptations, and that's like how I want to end it is that let your temptations be your testimonials, because when you testify and when you say that temptation came to put me down, but I overcome it, and now this is my testimony. So let every temptation become a testimony. That's like how I want to flows.
Very nicely said, Bonnie. To add on, when the temptation become a battleground and you are overcoming, give a pat to yourself and say, "See, you've done a good job," because no one else knows what is happening in you, but you know what is happening. Another thing, by making steps of yourself, actually you're constructing yourself or you're building yourself. And being self-controlled is actually you become a city with a good fortress that no one can attack you. Even if you are in a place where you have so many people there to attack you, you are clear that you are on the right track and no one can question you. Once you're in the right track, no one can put finger at you because you have an answer for the same what you're doing. So these are some of the ways so that you will not put down your head or you will not be in any confusion. And when the entire world may be on the opposite side and you're standing alone, you know for what you're standing alone. That made me to stand straight and bold in whichever situation you are. Anything to add, Bonnie?
I think you've spoken a lot about it.
Yes. So we had actually spoken a very good view on why we need self-control and how we can improve self-control. And I think we have explained this particular topic as well, and hope these things are helping you to mentally build yourself so that your morals, your principles, and your standards will stand straight so that you are able to be facing this world very boldly. Till we come with another wonderful and sensible topic, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you.